Good morning, everybody. This is Judith A. Cope. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. So, I still enjoy doing this podcast, so I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to scrap it completely. I may just revamp it. I do have some additional ideas, things that are a little bit more focused and less, free form than this. Um, but I do enjoy this. And I guess I'm a narcissist because I feel like it's entertaining, even though I'm not talking to anybody but myself and sharing my thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm a thoughtful person. Having said that, I was watching this movie, Babygirl with Nicole Kidman. And, there's so few movies that make me want to watch them. I watch Sinners. I will tell you this, though. I am super sick of movies with black people having to be period pieces or slave movies. Um, and this was a demonic period piece, that Sinner. So, whatever. So, but I did watch it. And I haven't watched anything contemporary since. I've been deeply immersed in LA law, which I'm stopping at season 6 because Michael is gone and I think Victor Cifuentes is about to leave and Abby's gone. She just made partner and then she leaves. So that lets me know that that was the actor's decision. The She must have been frustrated with her role. Well, she did shoot her shot at this crazy woman that joined the firm, and she did seem like she was hitting on Abby, but then she sort of like was like, nah, you misread it, or like she just was kind of mean to her when she was finally like, okay, well, I'll date you. Let's give it a shot. And she was like, nah, we're not even friends like that. And it's like, wait. So I'm sure Michelle Green, I believe was her name, was probably like, yeah, y'all don't know what to do with my character. Because in the first season, she's so meek, like her abusive husband steals her son. Yeah, spoiler alert. The shit's 30 some years old. If you haven't watched it, shame on you. And she's so meek through all of that and abused. Um, but then, by the time we get to season 5, she's been through a lot. Like she's had to shoot somebody. There's a lot of gun violence in LA law that I do not remember. And having worked in a prosecutor's office for 7.5 years, they saw way more gunfire than we did, um, in reality. Uh, but anyway, I digress. Back to this Babygirl thing. So the last movie I saw that was contemporary is Sinners. And again, I broke my rule. I broke my rule. I just refuse to watch period pieces. Um, but I will say with Sinners, that was the best work I've ever seen with one actor playing two characters. You couldn't even tell. It was seamless. They did a great job with that. But it was same old see at the crossroads type of thing. I get it. Ryan Coogler's very talented. Michael B. Jordan is obviously the Timothy Chalamet of black people. He got to be in everything. I don't know what happened to this industry that I love, but right now they're really struggling. So I go to watch this Babygirl because for no particular reason. I I was I'm through with LA Law and I'm like I gotta watch something before I fall asleep. I usually go for sitcoms, but for some reason I started to watch dramas and documentaries. So anyway, I'm watching this and I'm like, I think this is trying to be sexy. And kudos to Antonio Banderas. He's a cutie patootie as he's gotten older. He was always cute to me. And I'm old enough to remember when he was the sexually aggressive protagonist, or maybe he was the antagonist. I don't remember, but I don't know which is the right phrase. I meant to look it up before I started talking about it, but I forgot. Do you remember Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down? A Spanish indie movie that sort of burst out on the scene in 88, 89, somewhere along in there. And it had a very young, fresh faced Antonio Banderas, who actually kidnaps a woman. That's the tie me up, tie me down part. And they fall in love, which, the feminists, and there were people who were like, this is bullshit. You don't fall in love with your captor, although sadly people do. There are people who are in love with their abuser. That's a big reason why a lot of kids who get raped, little girls who get raped, they fall in love with their abuser. One girl fell in love with her dad, who was a sexual molester. Yeah, yuck. Anyway, so I remember when he was that guy. So apparently he's the older husband that's never sexually satisfied Nicole Kidman, who looks strange to me. Kudos on having great muscle tone in her body. She has like a six pack at 60. I think she's what, 57, 58. She looks good on her body, but her face looks strange to me. I don't know if she's had procedures that didn't go well. I remember it was maybe 10 years ago, because it's been a long time since I watched the Oscars, but there was one Oscar ceremony where she absolutely looked like she was melting and melting, like sitting in the chair. And that was the beginning of me looking at her face like, what's going on? Like you could go watch Eyes Wide Shut and you wouldn't recognize this as the same person. It wasn't a natural aging progression in her face. And in the movie, she actually gets Botox treatments, this character does. And also, very curiously, this character admits to being raised in like cults. I don't think she said cults, but like really a deeply weird childhood, which Nicole Kidman had a very weird childhood. Google her dad. He died with charges of child hunting uh, in Australia, and he died in another country visiting Nicole's sister, and he died pretty mysteriously, but he died with those charges. So there's a woman, I can't remember her name, but she said that Nicole was at all these cult um, satanic rituals, and Nicole witnessed and probably had to participate, being, her being raped by these men, these old men when she was just a child. And Nicole was in this community and she was a child as well. So I'm imagining she has sexual trauma, and she has chosen roles that explore that, because I think she started doing that with Eyes Wide Shut. And if she is a victim, she is doing what a lot of victims do. They get older and they look back and they say, that wasn't right. And they try to make it right in the ways they try to make it right. Sometimes that's going to drugs and alcohol. Sometimes that's going to the police. Sometimes that's, confronting the abuser, whatever it is. So I feel like because she's an actor, little by little, more and more things are getting out in her movies. And I don't watch a ton of her projects, but I did watch Big Little Lies, and her character was also kind of aloof and distant and weird in that. Um, I don't remember any details, but it feels like this is a theme. She's trying to let you know, like, she grew up weird. And anything you think that's weird about her is from this childhood, her real childhood. So she comments on that in the movie. I guess she and the screenwriter got close, and I think the screenwriter is also the director. I can't remember. I didn't really. I don't think it's good enough to remember that. No disrespect. It's just if you're old enough, you remember 9.5 weeks, which does it way better. It's a thin plot, but it does it way better. And Mickey Rourke was the roles are reversed, because it was Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger in the 80s, and this is Nicole and some young guy who's cute, but the stuff they try to make seem sexy just isn't sexy. Like him dancing to Father Figure by George Michael. I'm sure somebody in that film room in the at A24 or in that producer's room were like, "Oh shit, this is sexy," but he has no rhythm, and so Every woman knows a man with no rhythm is not good at sex. We all know that. It's not rocket science. Any man who can't dance, any man who can't find the beat is not going to be great in bed. Sorry. That's just the fact. So when I'm looking at him dance off key, I'm like, this throws the whole movie off. This dude is supposed to be super sexual and, tantalizing this CEO of a robotics firm. Not on the nose at all, because she's very strange in her relationships with people. Uh, and for no particular reason at all, she's thrown into this existential crisis. You know what I mean? Normally, there's a reason why somebody does something, and that's when the movie steps in. Look at the beginning of um, most movies. Something happened. A parent dies. You get a cancer diagnosis. The character gets a cancer diagnosis. Somebody has a car accident. There's usually something that causes this kind of behavior. And apparently she's just been having sex for 20 years with Antonio Banderas. They've got two kids. They're both obviously very successful in their careers. They have crazy New York properties. And all of a sudden, just this one day is just not good enough. And, you know, like they could have given her a birthday, something to make you believe that this character would just fall for this 20 something year old intern. It was strange. It was really strange. And one thing that really frustrated me is at one point, it just felt like I was watching a collection of scenes. And yes, I know that's ultimately what a movie is, but I don't want to be made aware of it. When I'm aware of it, I feel there's been a failing, either in the director's chair or in the editing bay. A great example of that is Waiting to Exhale, which is my favorite bad movie. It's not very good. I love them very much. I watch it every chance I get. If it's on, I'm watching the whole thing or a few minutes. It's hilarious. But it's just a collection of scenes. The story doesn't always feel tied together. And your life isn't like that. When you live your life, things are connected. You know why? Because it's a real life. I like movies that make me not notice that I'm just dipping in and out of somebody's life. Take some time there. Spend some time. You've got good actors. You've got money. You've got these interesting characters. Get in there. Get in there and see what's going on. And then like they spent a lot of time on like the weird sex, which really is just this kid bossing Nicole Kidman around. And because she's the CEO and the most powerful woman of this robotics company and all this pressure, it was just weird. It was just like, this isn't sexy. And it might be sexy to somebody who never saw 9.5 weeks. And it might be sexy to somebody who, you know, doesn't have a lot of sex, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't sexy to me. I felt like they were forcing it. There is chemistry. Nicole Kidman is an actor that is willing to explore her sexuality on screen. We've seen that. You go back and watch Eyes Wide Shut. The whole thing is about her fantasizing about having sex with other men. She's willing to explore that. She's willing to be the villain in her marriage in these movies. She's willing to say, hey, you don't turn me on like that, or this isn't satisfying to me. So it's very interesting. But this was the first time she said in a role, it's because of my fucked up childhood. And then Antonio Banderas is like, fuck that, it's you. You fucked up. But and even their fight is weird. Like the whole thing is weird. I don't think it's as sexy as people would have hoped for. Um, you know, I think, like I said, when that dude started dancing off the beat, I was like, see, he can't fuck. You know what I mean? Like real talk. Like this dude is not, he's cute and there's something dangerous about him, but I don't think this woman would throw away her whole career to have this 20 some year old dude boss her around. And he keeps bringing it up. he's basically like, I could ruin you. And she's just like, I want to protect you. And she says that to the younger characters. There's a black girl in there that's pretty interesting too. Her character's really interesting. Um, but it's like, uh, you keep threatening to protect people, but you're not good at it. You're risking your family, your kids know you're screwing around. I don't know. It was a lot. But it was a lot and not a lot at the same time. I'm not saying don't watch it, but it's not great. It's not great. And I think even movies like gosh, it just flew out of my head. But like there's this movie with Michael Fassbender where he's like a sex addict, and it was so gross. Like it started off a little like the sex was a little intriguing, and then by the end you're like, he is disgusting. But that's the whole point. He's a sex addict, and I can't think of it. God dog it, I can't think of the name of the movie. But like by the end, it's repulsive, and I sort of started to feel like that with this. But I don't think they wanted us to be repulsed by her behavior. I think they were going for like a 50 Shades of Grey thing. And instead, I was just like, I don't know. I don't think the risk reward was worth it. And I might have felt differently if they had let us know why it starts off, the whole movie the first scene of the movie is her having sex with her husband. And I guess she was faking these orgasms because at some point she says, I've never had an orgasm with you. So she has these orgasms in the beginning of the movie, and then she runs off screen from him. And, that's a kind of a weird scene too, because it's like you have children. Aren't you afraid people gonna walk in the room? Like what's going on? It was a weird movie. And I'm saying all that to say I've spent my adult life studying and loving movies. And, you know, I don't understand. If I was in film school right now, I'd be very discouraged. But that's not fair because I would have grown up on these Marvel movies and all this shit like everybody else and been like, oh, this is great. But, you know, I wasn't. When I was in film school, there were great movies like Fatal Attraction, which was super sexy at first. If you know, go ahead and check that one out. It still holds up. Um, yeah, 9.5 weeks. There was another one that came out that was supposed to be sexy and sensual. Like you could tell this guy, I don't know, I think it was Zalman King. Was that his name? Zalman something? Yeah, they were trying to make all these sexy movies. Uh, but the only really good movie that I can think of that was sexy and also terrifying and like, what the fuck did I just watch? But this was dope. Was Body Heat. Very good. Very good with Kathleen Turner and William Hurt. Um, that was good. And what's another one? That one was good. 9.5 weeks. I don't even know if it was a good movie, but it was very stylish, had a great soundtrack, and you looked at Mickey Rourke back then and you were like, oh, I get it. I get that. I get her acting crazy for him. And there's also milk in both films. So anyway, as you can see, I am a screenwriter and filmmaker in my heart. It's what I love, and it just makes me want to go and work on my scripts because if somebody wants to give me the money that they got for that, I can put some good shit out. That movie kind of came and went, like literally, and I understand why. It's just not very good. So if you're and I'm not trying to shit on anybody's work. This is difficult. This is hard to do. I've never made a film, um, but I think their editor must have let them down because it was just, like I said, I never want to feel like I'm watching a collection of scenes. That is the wrong energy to send when you're making a movie. So, yeah, I'm not saying don't watch it. Just if you do watch it, hey, if you do watch it, let me know what you think. I personally didn't find it titillating or sexy. I thought it was kind of weird and stunted. And the the best part for me was when Nicole Kidman was sort of like peeling back layers. If you know her story, it's like, oh, yeah, she's finally owning her victimhood. Because she probably was assaulted. She had to be assaulted. You don't join a cult. Your family isn't into that kind of stuff and you get spared. You did. You become a part of the rituals and the sacrifices and all that too. So, yeah, that part is interesting. And I think if she keeps working and keeps revealing, she'll eventually get there and start telling stuff that could bring a lot of people down. Because you don't do that in a vacuum. You don't child hunt in a vacuum. Have a great day. Be well, be safe.